Hey there, my name is E.W. Buckley and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to teach you how you can generate infinite custom drum kits to use in your music using just stock plugins in Ableton Live. Here are some examples of the kind of kits that you can make pretty much instantly. Let's go ahead and jump right in. We're going to build a complex drum rack from which we can resample endlessly to create new drum kits from. To do that, we have to employ a lot of controlled randomization. The first thing that we're going to do is grab one of Ableton's drum synthesizers. Let's go ahead and start with DSFM. We want to randomize the parameters on DSFM in a controlled fashion. To do that, we're going to grab an instance of expression control. So I'm going to hit Command F and search up expression control. And that will be placed before DSFM because it is a MIDI effect. Let's set the first mod tab source to random, and we'll set it to remote, and we'll crank the random amount up to 100%. We'll eventually want to do that for all 5 mod source tabs. From there, I want to map the tone control on DSFM. Now, every time I hit a key, the tone parameter will be randomized. This randomization is good, but we have no control over it. To fix that, we're going to go ahead and group expression control and DSFM together into an instrument rack. On this first mod source tab, I'm going to right-click on both of the parameter ranges and assign them to our first macro. Finally, we'll open up the macro mappings menu, and we're going to set the max range from 20% to 100% and the minimum range from 0% to 80%. Now we get randomization, but we can use the macro to define the band within which it works. You'll want to repeat those steps for every parameter on the device that you want to randomize. You can also add any effects into the chain that you want to randomize as well. Depending on how involved your design is, you may need more than one instance of expression control, which is totally okay. Let's jump back into the example of DSFM and look at that completed rack. So I now have 8 macros mapped across this entire instrument rack, and 5 of them are controlling the ranges within which expression control is randomizing parameters. If I hit 3 notes at the settings as they currently are, each one is going to be similar but different. Now let's say I bring the tone knob all the way down to 0 and I play 3 notes again. We can hear that the overall tone is darker, but each of those percussive hits were entirely different. Now I want to point out that you don't have to randomize everything. The pitch and decay of DSFM, as well as the wet-dry of this grain delay rack, are not being randomized. Now, if you want one mod source tab on expression control to randomize more than one parameter, all you have to do is make sure that both of those parameters are assigned to the same macro on an instrument rack. And so in the case of grain delay here, I have it grouped onto itself into one single drum rack nested in the parent drum rack. And this spray and frequency macro is doing exactly that. It is controlling the spray parameter and the frequency parameter, which then allows me to assign both of them to one instance of expression control and specifically one mod source, and then to assign control of that mod source to the parent macro. And let's go ahead and up the wet dry so we can hear this better. It's easy to hear from this example how useful this technique is when applied to a single percussive instrument. That usefulness scales when each cell of your drum rack contains an instrument that has this degree of randomization in it. Let's look at an example of a completed drum rack that is aesthetically different than the DSFM we've been working with so far, but built using the same technique. This is the most complex drum kit I've probably ever designed. It is built to create these huge hybrid organic electronic distorted drum sounds, and it has a lot of moving parts. And when I say a lot of moving parts, I'm talking over 300 macro mappings. And all 300 plus of those macro mappings are being controlled by the first 5 macros on this drum rack. Each of these 5 macros are just dictating a range in which parameters on each cell of this drum rack are being randomized within. All 16 cells on this drum rack are set up with instrument racks that have up to 3 instances of expression control randomizing up to 15 parameters across these 5 macros. We can see as much as true here on the instrument rack for the kick. And if I go to say FM2 and open up the macro mappings for that menu, we can see that multiple instances of expression control are being controlled across these 5 macros. We have one that's dedicated to controlling DSFM, one that's dedicated to controlling roar, and another that's dedicated to controlling an instance of corpus, which is how we're building the tone of this instrument. And if we go back and look at the macro mappings for the parent rack, we will see that all of these various parameters are being controlled by these 5 parent macros. And I know that this looks really intense, but please stick with me because the payoff is what's coming here shortly. I'm taking the time to show you the architecture behind this instrument rack because the key to building awesome racks and sound design in general is a strong understanding of signal flow. And seeing how instruments and racks like this are constructed is what helps you build that understanding of signal flow. Now, I haven't played any beat on this rack for you yet because this degree of real-time randomization is CPU intensive and it's also impractical for producing. This is where the next step and the payoff of this entire video comes into play. We're going to resample this rack and we're going to turn it into a drum kit. And I'm going to show you how you can resample it over and over and over again. So I have this drum rack set up on a MIDI track that has a clip that plays one of the 16 cells every single 8th note. I'll hit play and we'll see if I max out my CPU. Oh, we just made it there at the end. It fried a little bit. Now, before I resample, I'm going to take the tempo and I'm actually going to drop it all the way down to 20 BPM. And I'm just doing that in case I want to build a kit that has a long decay on each of the cells. That will give me enough time between each drum hit to fully render out the tail. Next, I'm going to go ahead and rename this MIDI clip based off of the macros that I've chosen. And if I extend this clip here, we're going to see I've got everything in here. And I'm just doing this for future reference for myself in case I want to go back at any point and re-render this kit, but say go for a darker color. I'll know what all the other settings are. And I've already got my MIDI clip highlighted. So from there, I'm going to right click on it and I'm going to select bounce to new track. All that's left to do now is right click on this new clip and select slice to new MIDI track. And I'm going to create a slice per 8th note, which will result in 16 slices that corresponds with the hits as they have been created. And I'm going to go ahead and just choose the default for now. And I'm going to turn preserve warped timing to off. Hit OK. And now we'll go ahead and bring the tempo up to a normal tempo. We'll just go back to 120 again and give this drum kit a listen. And these kits end up being so inspiring. I went ahead and programmed a quick pattern just because I loved the glitchy, assertive sound of this drum kit. And great, if you didn't like the kit that you made, cool, that's fine. All we need to do is go back to this parent rack here, turn our clip back on, and let's go ahead and tweak some parameters, darken the color, we're gonna brighten up the tuning, we'll drop the punch a little bit, tighten up the decay, and we're gonna crank the drive. I'm gonna right click now, and then again, bounce to new track. And then again, I'm gonna right click, and I'm gonna slice to new MIDI track, and I'll go ahead and select default once more, turn off warping, and I've got a new kit. And let's just try that same pattern on that kit and see how that sounds. That's literally so cool. Like that's the kind of thing then where awesome, great, cool. There's my intro. And then I'll go ahead and drop into the full beat on this other kit. Let's just hear those two. It's going to feel like, oh wow, everything just got bigger. This is where all of the effort and the upfront work pays off. To be able to create these awesome randomized drum kits as quickly as I did is one, musically inspiring and creatively inspiring, and two, such a a time saver. Building stuff like this is the music production equivalent of planting a fruit tree. When you plant a tree, it may take a few years before you get first fruits, but the payoff is decades of yield. Building complex racks like this takes a lot of time, but the payoff is that you save more time in the long run. To create as many custom kits from scratch as I've shown you in this video would take so much time. Now I can just load up this crazy rack, click a few buttons, and have a new drum kit instantly. Thank you so much for watching. Please consider liking, subscribing, and leaving a comment. I'm working really hard to grow this channel to 15,000 subscribers by the end of 2025, which is less than a month away, but we're also less than 1,000 subscribers away from that goal as I'm recording this. And it really is all of your support this year that has made this possible. So thank you again, and till next time.